This question is higher level, question 6 from 2004, the ellipse. This ellipse is vertically inclined, involves a parabola. We also have the challenge of having to construct this when we're only given the minor axis, but we're also given 2 points on the curve. They're points P and point Q. So we're going to answer this question. I always recommend to my students to answer the question as it's laid out in the exam paper. So the first thing that's mentioned in the exam paper, as you can see, and apologies, this is the Irish version, is the parabola. So we're going to set out the parabola first. And then the next part that's mentioned is the ellipse. When we're finished the parabola, we'll move on to tackling the ellipse. In particular, we'll deal with the whole idea of how to draw an ellipse. Number one, when it's vertically inclined. Number two, when you're not given the major axis. And number three, how do we draw the normals to the ellipse? So they're the lines that are coming out of the ellipse from points P and points Q. So as I've said, we'll start off with our ellipse and we'll take our height from the question. I believe the height was 150 millimeters. So what I've started off there with is a center line, and I'm measuring off my height there of 150 millimeters. I've already added in my baseline, so I'll just put in my height line there. Okay. I'm now going to add on the different widths onto the bottom that are given in the question. So the first one, I believe, is 60 millimeters. Now, the measurement was 120. I use my compass as often as possible to improve my accuracy. So the 120 millimeter width was for the parabola. You'll now see I've scribed off 50 millimeter measurement, giving me a total distance of 100, and then a 40 millimeter one giving me a total distance of 80, and they correspond to the measurements that you'll see in the question, measuring 120, 100 and 80. So I've now drawn up the two extreme vertical lines, completing my rectangle, and I'm labeling it A, B and C. So my parabola will fit into this rectangle A, B and C, B being the vertex. Okay, so this vertical line needs to be divided into an equal number of spaces. I'm going to pick 3. Okay, the more you have, the more accurate you'll be, but the trade-off is the more time consuming it'll be. And then you need to divide the half of the bottom into the same equal number of parts. So in this case it was 3, and we're going to draw vertical lines up until they reach the height line at the very top. Okay, I'm going to label that 0, 1 and 2 on the horizontal line, and you'll see as well going up on the left 0, 1 and 2. From my vertical line, I join my 1 and my 2 back to my vertex B, and where that angled line and the vertical line 1 meet gives me a point, and likewise I do the same for 2. So the vertical line 2 meets the angled line 2, and they give me my points. Now I could use the same construction, but I'm going to speed the process up. I'm going to use this central line that I'm heavying in here at the moment as an axis, and I'm going to project my lines directly across and transfer the distances using my compass. As you can see, I'm doing it now. This speeds the process up. I've already shown the examiner that I know how to draw a parabola. There are no additional marks to be gained by repeating that construction on the left hand side again. So you can see now the points for my parabola. Bear in mind when you're drawing your freehand sketches in particular that for every single question they're marked out of 70, 10 marks out of 70, so you're talking more than 10%, around 11 or 12% of the marks go for your neatness and your accuracy and how well presented your work is. So it's well worth taking your time, drawing it out lightly first, and then when you're happy with the curve, heavying it in. Okay, as I always say, these are marks for nothing. Okay, so don't throw them away. Take your time, as you can see I'm doing there now. Okay, take your time, get this much done. The next step when I'm finished the parabola is to begin at the ellipse. And in the question, we're given the minor axis. We're told it's 80 millimeters wide. Okay, so we can draw our minor circle using the center point down at the bottom, as you'll see I'm going to go on to do in a second. So I'm just labeling my points as they're labeled in the question. Do not skip on the labeling, guys. It's very, very helpful. Okay, I'm now going to draw my minor circle with my compass. And bearing in mind, we only need to draw half of this ellipse, so there's no point drawing the bit on the bottom. Again, it's just wasting time. So this is my minor axis here. Okay, I'm going to do that now. And the next step is we're not given a major circle. Okay, but we are given 2 points on the curve, points Q and points S, and I'm going to locate these now. Now there's a particular construction that I'm going to use to determine the major axis, and you'll see me doing this now. If you want to study this in more detail, I'll include a link to this. I have a video done on this. I'll include an additional link to this in the description of the video below, and hopefully a link will pop up on the screen as well as that. So using S as the example, I'm going to draw a vertical line, or a line that's parallel with my major axis until it touches the minor circle. From my center point, I'll draw a line out through that point, and I'll now draw a horizontal line, or a line that's parallel with my minor circle, until it touches that line coming out from the center point. Putting my compass now and extending it out to that new point, I'm able to draw the newly located major circle. Okay, with that information now, we should all be able to finish our ellipse. Okay, I'm using the concentric circles method here. Some people may use different methods. There's a Trammell method, for example. There's a few other different methods, but for me, I find this is the quickest, easiest. It provides you with a perfect number of points to draw a perfectly accurate ellipse. Again, it's really important here, guys, when we're drawing our curve, that we take our time. So you can see me just even before I start sketching it out, just make sure I know which points I'm moving between. And I always draw it out lightly, make sure I'm happy with the curve. And when I'm happy with my curve, I go back over and heavy it in. Okay, every point and every mark that I can get, I'm going to work hard to get it. As I said, these are marks for nothing here. So I'm reasonably happy with that curve now. Now it's time to go back over and to heavy it in. Next up is to draw the two normals that we're asked to identify in the question, coming from Q and from S. To do this, we need to draw our focal points, okay? And again, the focal points are easy to identify. To do this, we get our major radius, as you can see I'm doing now in the video, and we put the point of our compass at one of the extremities of the minor circle, as I'm doing right now, and we strike an arc onto the major axis. That gives me F1. To find F2, we do the same on the lower half of it. Now, as I said, we don't need any of the other constructions on the lower half other than F2. This is going off my page, but you know yourselves how to find it. The next step is to draw a line from both focal points through the point on the curve S, okay? And that gives us an angle, as you can see I'm highlighting there. We need to bisect that angle. You can see me doing it here. Set your compass to whatever distance, extend it a little bit and strike two arcs, and where those arcs meet one another, join it back to the point. Okay, that gives me a normal. I can heavy it in. I could do the same construction on the left hand side, but again, I'm conscious of time pressure, so I'm just going to transfer the point where it touches the ellipse directly across and join that back to my focal, or back to my point on the curve as well. I'm going to do a bit of tidying up with the question, heavy in that vertical line that I was asked to do, and I've got my 2 circles on the bottom that need to be completed. You'll remember I located these 2 points that I'm just after projecting down from at the very beginning there, and I'm told that the radius for these circles is 20 millimeters. Set 20 on my compass, draw my 2 circles as accurately as possible. Okay, do the same on this side, and I'm almost there, just to finish off with the 2 horizontal lines on the bottom that need to be heavied in. I give one scan over to make sure that I've everything labeled, that I'm not missing anything, and that's the question complete. Thanks for watching, and I hope this was of some help.